wonder, innocence, awe, moments of breathtaking beauty, finding solace in the simplicity of life, mourning the departure of a close friend, and departing to find family. On the Way to Meet Mom is perhaps the best manhwa to start off the year of 2025. Well, for me at least. These past few weeks have brought about an abundance of new releases and the coming updates of some of the older manhwas. However, for a person who has been so inclined towards manhwas that have aspects of action, regression, and fighting, I thought there was time to broaden my horizons. So, I headed into a different direction to find something more wholesome, more homely, something that can bring a smile to my face and an ache to my heart. And I stumbled upon this gem. Although it only has 9 chapters, each chapter is bound to leave you smitten with our protagonist, Mori, rooting for him as he traverses different terrains, meets new friends, and faces perilous forces. So, without further ado, enjoy. The story begins with guards arriving at an abandoned building in search of something or someone. As they fan out, scanning their surroundings, a small humanoid figure rushes past them, and then we get our first look at our main protagonist, Mori. I have to say that the art is already stunning, and it's only been a couple of panels. As Mori runs off again, the guards yell to capture him and they throw a net, and then everything turns black. Mori opens his eyes to a bed with the warm sun streaming across the room, his face a mixture of confusion and puzzlement. As he slowly gets to his feet, we see an array of small scars dotting his arms and legs, presumably from his time spent alone at the abandoned building. The flat floor, the clean clothes he wears, the food that always arrives on time, all of this is very puzzling and new for a person that was so accustomed to surviving on bare scraps and living in such impoverished conditions. The next few panels, we see Mori sitting on the hill, taking in the beauty of the natural world, the feeling of the soft green grass, the blue sky and passing clouds. All of it is soaked up by the young boy's eyes. Unfortunately, he has still yet to make a friend, still cautious of human interactions, as denoted by this pretty humorous panel. The scene then skips to the children running towards the caretakers, and one of them hands over a letter to a child. As Mori muses over what it could possibly be, a red-haired girl speaks up, telling him that it's a letter from a sponsor. Sponsors can send letters or gifts to a child, and they're usually an adult. Lily's sponsor brought her clothes, a dress with tons of frills. Joe even talked to Hugh's sponsor, but then the girl says she does not need a sponsor, for her mum promised her that she would come and get her. All she had to do was wait for 100 nights, and she just hopes she comes soon. Even Mori, who has yet to speak, understands the gravity of her words and the seriousness of it, as he stares very intently and intensely at her. Following this, we finally get a little bit of context surrounding the world and its inhabitants. We learn from one of the caretakers that the aliens came from the far reaches of the galaxy and became friends with the humans. However, a child tells a very different story. According to the book from the principal's study, the world was rampant with panic and chaos, as reports of unidentified beings came flooding from across the nation. To combat their presence, an extremely powerful weapon called HAEK was deployed. However, it was useless in the face of these entities, so the humans surrendered. After this impromptu history lesson, Mori heads back to the building to be greeted by the same dark-haired caretaker, now extending a letter to him. Apparently, he has a sponsor. As she asks if he is happy, he hears the thud of a bucket dropping, and the girl, with tears in her eyes and a stricken expression on her face, runs out of the room. Mori desperately tries to find a way to reason with her, and the girl's cries are cut short as she looks at him and the items laying scattered on the ground. All of his cherished items he gives to her in an attempt to reconnect the friendship. And then she tells him the bitter truth. 100 nights have long since passed, and having a letter in her eyes reminds her of the fact that she is abandoned, reinforces the notion that she does not have a loved one, or she actually does, but they are not here to shower her with gifts and affection, as those children who have been taken care of by sponsors. And that is of course difficult to handle, especially as a child. Her mum promised her, but that promise broke, and now she is all alone. But she's not actually, she's got Mori. She smiles and tells him if she can really eat that cookie, but of course, seeing his drooling face, she cannot. Asking him to pass over the letter from his sponsor, a look of confusion appears on her face as only two words appear: hello there. But that is not all. A beautiful blue flower is dropped on the ground, and Mori picks it up. We see night pass with Mori in his bed smelling the flowers as his mind takes him to a world beyond. It's such a sweet scene and dispels any of the lingering melancholy from the previous few panels, which is nice to see that. Days pass and the letters and gifts Mori receives piles up, and soon he has amassed quite the collection. Surrounded by a pile of gifts, his wide-eyed stare makes for quite a funny panel in my opinion, and the panel of him trying to eat the crayons as well is pretty humorous and light-hearted. Then the fateful day arrives. As the children assist in washing the clothes, Rodina, the red-haired girl, sees someone in the distance, someone calling her name. It's her mum. As she rushes out to greet her, Mori stares on in the distance, an indescribable look on his face. We later see a swollen-eyed Rodina talking to Mori, telling him to take care and giving him advice and her belongings to him. And then she tightly hugs him and says, "You must be happy." He sinks into the hug, a warm smile on his face. The child sits on the hill again. Although the absence of a huge friend has left a large hole in his heart, he knew he wasn't alone. There was someone out there, sending him gifts, sending him affection. Could it be his mom? And then he makes up his mind. Packing his precious belongings in the bag Rodina gave him, he sets off into the night. Looking back on the orphanage, he bids goodbye before taking one step, then two, and then setting off on an unknown path to meet his mom. I am simply captivated by this manhwa. A simple plot about a young boy yearning for his mother, but envisioned and portrayed in such a way that is simply breathtaking to read. His infectious joy, his love and affection towards his friends and companions, and his innocence towards every little thing brings a smile to my face. There's also a tear to shed as he bids goodbye to a short but impactful friendship, and wonder as more of the world is shown to us through his eyes. What captivates me the most is the art, specifically the detail and emphasis to the facial expressions of characters and the minute things. It just looks and feels so different to any of the other manhwa I've read. From the first sighting of Mori to when he opens his eyes, the detail to the surroundings is astonishing to say the least. There's a warmth to the art, not only reflected by the sunlight that streams through the windows, that drapes itself like a cloth around the children, and highlights the innocence, the beaming smiles, the teary goodbyes, but the art almost exudes a soothing feeling that just makes me feel relaxed and giddy reading this. Seeing each panel and each interaction between the characters and the beauty of the natural world is just awesome to read. From Mori's heartfelt encounters with Rodina and the rider, to the comedic encounters he has with the natural wildlife and other children, you can really feel how the art captures every emotion, every little bit of Mori's journey. And it's just simply a blessing to read. I can just talk so much more, but I'll leave it at that for now. People play an immensely important role in the development of a child. The same can be said for Mori. Unable to speak, yet able to understand, he's guided by a person he views as his older sister, the red-haired Rodina. Enamored by her cheerful demeanor, her immense maturity despite being only a few years older than Mori, she teaches him all she knows and indulges in his peculiar and eccentric behaviors. However, just like Mori, she is a child that longs for affection, parental affection specifically. And her response to Mori's receival of a letter is understandable, even justifiable. But like a real true friend, they rekindle and strengthen their relationship, friendship. Even her last words to him are pivotal. They cement the foundation of his very journey. Be happy. Such simple but profound words from a child, just wishing her friend safety and joy in his life. And the hug is nothing short of loving and warm. It really brings a tear to my eye. And there's also his first interaction with an adult, aside from the caretakers, Ryder. Initially coming off as friendly, but with more ulterior motives, after saving Mori from a gang. His cold and indifferent exterior slowly melts under Mori's cute and innocent actions. Actions that leave the once lonely Ryder fiercely protective of the little child. Sitting by the fire, drawing pictures of themselves, exploring the different terrain, encountering the different flora and fauna. The child and adult grow closer and closer together with every interaction and every experience. And as Mori is sleeping with the rider watching over him, the little boy grabs his finger and his sleeping face stretches in a warm and comforting smile. It's just simply adorable to watch. And Ryder, his face, initially a mixture of shock and disbelief, slowly melts itself into a warm smile as he shuffles closer to the child, looking over him. All in all, On the Way to Meet Mum is simply a must-read for those eager to see a manhwa full of cute and wholesome moments. With a fascinating world, an interesting plot, and a cast of characters to warm the soul, this manhwa definitely needs your time. That's all for this video, thank you for watching and have a great day.